All right, Phil DePaul, United Water Restoration of Long Island. This is a little conversation about cleaning and disinfection in the COVID era. This is dated because, as we all know, minute to minute, this novel virus is changing our understanding of it, and everything is really still up in the air. But I'll talk about the state of things and our role as an organization in how we can be a part of some of the solutions. So, for those who don't know, Phil DePaul, I am the sole owner of United here in Long Island. Based out of Long Island, we do serve the city. We've even done, as you'll see this photo down below, this is our largest single day project that we completed in New Jersey a couple of weeks ago. So I think we had 35 technicians and supervisors on site doing a decontamination for a high-end fashion brand distribution center. So that's just an idea of the type of work that we've been doing these days. We're thankful to really be doing any work because there's nothing that's guaranteed since this quarantine started. But again, who are we and why are we anybody that you should even trust? I mean, it's funny because viruses have been around for a long time, just nobody ever valued cleaning them out, I'd say, outside of their house with their Lysol wipes and just some basic cleaning. But professionally, my organization and more prominently, my technicians, the individuals that are part of my team have been doing this for years and years and years. And we're constantly dealing with dirty, dangerous situations, remediating hazards in all types of spaces and places. So, we have the technicians, we have the tools, and we have the knowledge to know what we're doing safely as best as anybody could know how to restore an environment that's affected by an invisible illness, right? So you see some of our accreditations by the EPA and the IICRC. Here's a marketing piece that kind of shows the work that we've been focused on. Never intended to turn a situation like this into a business opportunity. But at the end of the day, there are situations out there and people are looking outside and saying, who can help me? And we're competent and confident that the services that we provide add value. And as you see, we never asked for this. And this is taking us away from much of our core competencies and the main revenue streams of our business, which, if someone still has a basement full of water, I don't recommend that they wait until the virus is gone to get rid of it. So, we're still working in the restoration side, but when it comes to sanitization and viricide treatments to restore some sense of safety, security, and comfort to employees and employers alike, that's kind of where we've come in lately, and it's kept my team employed. It's kept us running. So we're we're out there, and the more of these jobs that we've done, I'd say the more efficient we've gotten with it. But just to touch base on what we do as our day-to-day operations, we're the guys you call in when there's water that's affected any type of building material in a commercial or residential space. You'll see the photo of the fans and dehumidifiers. You'll see the sheetrock cut. This is a typical sort of water damage loss. We always work with homeowners insurance to try to cover the highest extent of the work that we do as possible. But what does it lead to if you don't handle water the right way? It leads to mold, and you see a pretty nasty picture of one of the uglier jobs that we've done with, there was mold that had taken over an entire woman's basement because she hadn't been down there. And we're New York State licensed mold remediation contractors. If there's a fire, there's smoke damage, there's a puff back, we're the ones who clean that up, restore those environments. In the picture you see, we encapsulated that when we were done. Essentially, it's like a thick white paint substance that traps the odor and the carcinogens that were produced as a result of the fire damage. air duct cleaning, demolition, and then that disgusting picture, which I will quickly change so you don't have to stare at it. That's the worst of the worst when it comes to sewage. It's hard to get something chunkier than that. But we're the ones who come in and take care of that filthy stuff that nobody else really wants to deal with. So my goal today is to educate, to hopefully reduce some fear and anxiety, and create an open-minded approach towards what the hell is going on these days. So I'm going to begin by just touching base on what is a virus. And you'll see the key words here. Viruses are presently thought of as being in a gray area between living and non-living organisms. They can only replicate inside of hosts. The size of a virus here, it is between approximately 250 to 400 nanometers. How big is a nanometer? It's a lot of zeros, 8 inches. I think it's like a millionth, 8 millionths of an inch is a nanometer. So you can just get an idea of how tiny these little pathogens are. We've probably seen some pictures of what viruses look like all over our TV screens, but you have the second from the left, the coronavirus is kind of like this little sphere with spiky little protrusions on it. And coronaviruses are nothing new. We're calling this the coronavirus, but the truth is this is just the latest strain of coronaviruses that humans have been conquering for hundreds of years. And coronaviruses are a large family of viruses that really originate in animals and birds. Now, humans suffer from respiratory tract infections that could be mild or could be lethal. That is the most common side effect of a coronavirus. Alternatively, they are also one of the easiest to destroy. They're enveloped viruses, and once you hit them with the right solution, they're gone. Here's the big scary slide with the big scary picture of the big scary virus. And this is all from the CDC's website. Just kind of highlighting the main pathway by which this virus is supposedly infecting people, which is close person-to-person contact, thus the 6 feet distancing. When it comes to surfaces and objects in public spaces that were shared and touched by multiple people, this is not thought to be the primary way that the virus spreads. But as you can see, we are still learning more about this virus. There's that big hanging question mark that surrounds COVID-19. And whatever this means to you, this virus seems to be spreading more efficiently than a flu, but not as efficiently as measles. I don't know how many people in our group have had the measles, but it is less efficient than the spread of the measles. Right, so what can we do about it? That's what we're all wondering every day. So it starts with reducing risk, and I kind of refer to that as like engineering controls. What can you do to minimize the exposure to be infected by this virus? So coronaviruses actually die. They do. On surfaces, could be hours, could be days, maybe it's weeks, but I haven't heard anyone say that it's more than 2 weeks or even more than a week, that these things will last and still be viable and still be capable of infecting their host if come in contact with. What's recommended by the CDC? Normal routine cleaning. Soap, water, disinfectants are really the best effort. I mean, they basically say to pre-clean surfaces to remove dirt and grime, followed by a disinfectant treatment. And when it comes to using disinfectants, there are thousands of products out there. We'll get into that a little more later. The main thing is read the instructions. They're all not created equal. You shouldn't drink any of them. You should not put them on your skin. That's not going to kill a virus that's on you or in you. This is for surfaces. Social distancing, we've heard that up the wazoo. And when it comes to PPE. Even while cleaning, you should wear gloves while using these solutions. They recommend wearing facial covering. I'm going to focus on some facial coverings right now. Recommended. So here in New York, right, where everyone's required when they're in a public space where social distancing is not an option, that you should be wearing a face covering, recommending cloth face coverings. These are some tips about what those attributes of the face covering should be. They should fit tightly. They should loop around your ears. You should be able to clean them. And I'm going to really focus on something about masks. You know, we as a society are not used to wearing masks. Masks affect your breathing. You need to use common sense whenever putting on a facial covering. This is going to, especially someone who has any kind of pre-existing issues with respiratory conditions. You're going to put a mask on over your nose and over your mouth, especially if that thing gets wet in any way, if you sneeze, if anything affects the porous elements of it being breathable, you will start hyperventilating. Anxiety, stress in situations when you're shopping, when you're if you're mowing the lawn and doing gardening and wearing a mask. I mean, these are more dangerous than this virus. I mean, you're going to put yourself in a high-risk situation. So my recommendations when using facial coverings, these are understood, especially, like I said, in New York. You're going to go to the supermarket, they might not let you in if you're not wearing a mask. And to be honest, a face covering is more for other people than it is for you. However, it is basically required right now. CDC recommendations for cleaning and disinfecting. So these are taken directly from the CDC. And as everybody thinks about going back to work, and whether you're an employer or an employee, this is just a piece of information you should be aware of, that if a space has been unoccupied for 7 days or more, that routine cleaning should be sufficient for the area to be reopened. That doesn't mean that employers shouldn't or won't take more aggressive measures, such as the services that my organization is offering, but it is there in black and white that the recommendation is that it's not required. When it comes to disinfectants, there is no product out there that can make a claim to be able to handle the COVID-19 virus. The coronavirus, the human coronavirus, is something that products have been handling for many years. There's the EPA has put together a list of disinfectant products that are recommended for cleaning, especially during this crisis. It's called List N. I have a link here, which I'll share the presentation when we're done. It's a very extensive list. They're adding to it, I don't know, on a weekly basis. Just because a product isn't on the list doesn't mean that it won't be effective. The most important thing about your products is that they have an EPA registration number, and in the list of pathogens that they're known to treat, if the coronavirus, the human coronavirus, is referenced, you could feel comfortable and confident that it is good enough for you to use in your house or in your place of work. Picture on the right is just some products that we use, some real heavy medical grade solutions that we prefer. Shockwave, not pictured, is the MediClean, and you have the all natural Decon 30, which is it's a green product. So a viricide is any agent that deactivates or destroys viruses. You won't hear me use the word kill, because as I said earlier, viruses are not necessarily living organisms. They're like little bits of information that, when introduced to your body, triggers a reaction, and a viricide is a solution that can activate them. Don't drink it. Back to cleaning and disinfecting treatments. Routine cleaning are important, on an ongoing basis as we move forward, if and when we start going back to work, as well as in our homes. Surfaces frequently touched by multiple people, those are the things that need to be disinfected most frequently and most heavily. You're not always going to be able to get the product that you want, so it's good to know alternatives. So what are we doing? You know, what is United doing during this time? Well, like I said, you know, we're following the CDC guidelines and then some. So a typical project for us right now, we have a fog treatment that we apply. You'll see, you know, we have the blue contraption that's pictured, and it provides a very fine mist of one of those EPA registered disinfectant products, and we coat all spaces, horizontal surfaces, vertical surfaces, high touch areas. That's safe. It doesn't saturate anything. It doesn't leave any kind of moisture behind. It's just enough to start to go to work. We let that dwell on the surfaces for a minimum of 10 to 15 minutes. That's the time at which it is recommended by the manufacturer to let it sit on the surface and to inactivate any virus particles that are possibly present. We'll set up some HEPA filter. HEPA is a high efficiency particulate air filtration. We'll set that up, especially in an office. And once we start our damp disinfectant wipe down, anything that may possibly become airborne during that process gets sucked up and caught by those filters during that process. So it's an extra step of protection and security. And then when we're done with the project, none of the disposable PPE gets saved, which stinks because it's in very, very short supply. These suits, gloves, masks. You'll see my my workers that have the pink filters on them. Those are disposable. The respirators we keep, we clean, we disinfect, and we use different filters and N95s, which are the most basic masks, which are used in such efforts. Those things are impossible. You know, the first responders, frontliners, those are the ones that are getting the supplies that are available as other manufacturers work to produce more and more of these essential items during this time. So, you know, we have access to some stuff, but, you know, we're still limited. We're not as important as other folks that are out there and, you know, really working to save lives. So just another look at what some of those surfaces that you want to focus on, that we focus on in our efforts: tables, doorknobs, light switches, countertop, handles, desks, phones, keyboards, toilets, faucets, anything that a human may or may not have come in touch with. You know, that's where we're at, whether it's copy and print centers, electronics. The treatments that we provide are very, very fine, very fine particles, and we're talking about microscopic size droplets of this solution. So it's not like we're destroying any surfaces. I don't have pictured some of the more high-tech stuff we've done in aerospace and defense offices and transportation offices. They've had some really futuristic looking stuff that they were very concerned with, but by the time we were done, they were extremely happy, felt good, felt that you know, no damage was done and none of that. So this is a little bit about what is recommended, and each facility has its own unique attributes that you want to take into account. We have nothing to fear but fear itself, but here's a quote that I'm just going to kind of close on, that nothing in life is to be feared, it's only to be understood. And maybe now is the time to understand more so that we can fear less. So fear is kind of the focus of where I just want to wrap up here, because clearly I could talk from a greedy business owner perspective and say that this virus is the worst thing that's ever happened and that you need me to come in and clean it for you so you're safe. That's not my perspective. I just think that we as individuals can use our common sense and take a look at this pandemic, maybe through our own lens, maybe make some of our own choices and figure out what it is that we're going to do coming out of this, and how we're going to live the rest of our lives. And I'm afraid personally for how this is going to affect the months and years to come, and my family and my loved ones. And I don't want to see this happen again. I don't want to see something like this happen again, especially if it's avoidable, especially if there is something that we could do about it, more than just listen and fall in line. So in the meantime, there is an illness out there. I'm not saying that there's not. And we are doing our best to bring some normalcy back to people's lives. And I encourage you guys to figure out what that is in your own worlds, you know, for your family, for your colleagues, for your network. So that's me dropping some, you know, otherworldly perspective on you. And that's all I got to say.